Morning, everyone. Welcome to this morning's edition of the MPC Markets Morning Call, 30th of March, 2026. Stocks headed lower on Friday night, basically on the back of the Iran situation worsening. Things have not improved over the course of the weekend. As you can see here, this is sort of courtesy of Bloomberg, is US and Israeli attacks all over the weekend. Iran and proxy strikes as well. We're having the Houthis join as well, which are generally, they're Yemeni, which does bring into a small risk here in the Red Sea. You've got the East-West pipeline that Saudi Arabia's been diverting about half of their oil from. And that will, if they start to restrict any sort of flow through, this strait here, then you're really going to have a situation where ships will have to go back through the Suez Canal, through the Mediterranean Sea to get to Asia. They'll have to go around, they'll have to go around essentially South Africa, which adds something like 100 odd days, something ridiculous to that journey. India was allowed 20 vessels through by the Iranians over the weekend. That may start to help some of theirs. We had an address from the Supreme Leader over the course of the weekend as well. But basically everything as you would expect. And then the Defense Secretary Rubini was basically saying as well from the US that this could take several weeks. So excuse me. And but look, we've been tracking the attacks. Obviously, since Trump's called a ceasefire, there's by far and away the worst day on the 28th, which was Saturday, and sort of pulled back a little bit on the Sunday. But the Iranian and Iranian proxies really did escalate things into the basically about 4 times the usual rate of attacks. So doesn't look like much of a ceasefire. Those dotted lines are the averages, and we're really looking at since successful strikes were about 215 a day, and now we're up to 71 odd a day. Not successful necessarily strikes, but that was at 58 on Friday, and sort of keeping track of this on a daily basis. These are all verified as well, but look. That was probably that sort of light red bar there. Really, that is a very large increase in terms of successful attacks from Iran and proxies. And we had Kuwait's main shipping port, which doesn't actually pull any. It's not an oil port, but it's a major goods port. But that's where helium's coming out of as well, which is going to be of grave concerns for the at some stage for the chip makers in Taiwan. But essentially they're saying they've got months, if not several months, of supply for helium and natural gas that they've stored. So it may not affect it, but I mean, the longer this drags out, the higher risk there is, and then that'll start to hurt the semiconductors as well. So overall, this is pretty much as bad as it gets in terms of what was going to be, a very short and precision strike is now dragged out into its fifth week, and there really is no end in sight at this point. The Israelis did hit some infrastructure that caused a blackout in Tehran. That's not good because they did say that they would be they would take greater, well, basically there would be a big retaliation if they started to hit power infrastructure. And look, I mean, as you can see here, it just fairly, that's not indiscriminate selling. It's just fairly solid selling. Basically, the oil companies and some of the staples really the only things holding in there overall. And you would sort of expect that gold and silver actually went back to normal correlations on Friday, but you can sort of see here we've got strong sell signals and or sell signals basically across the board in nearly all the indexes except for the Nikkei. So we would expect some decent weakness over the course of the week. We've had oil open up. WTI oil finished at 99 or just below 99.50. It got whacked right on the death about $2, and which would just be, look, to be honest, there's been a fair bit of price fixing going on. I don't know who's necessarily doing it. They're saying there's going to be investigations on large trades, etc. There won't be. It never happens. Out of the entire GFC, one bloke went to jail, and so that sort of white collar crime basically never really gets addressed in the long term. But we've got oil traded, WTI oil traded about 103.25 was the high this morning. I think it's around about 102 at the moment. You would expect it to head higher. Brent as well, heading higher. So we had a bounce back in gold and silver and the precious metals generally, that correlation coming back. Oil obviously up around about 6%. Lithium really making a bounce back because people have now realised, and I did say this early on in the piece, that I think these critical minerals the people will wake up and realise that locking down their supply chains is going to be of the utmost importance. And the fact that people are going to want to buy EVs, I think we obviously, governments just clearly globally did not learn any lessons from COVID, and just went straight back to being lazy and about their supply chains. And essentially Australia being the worst of it, unfortunately. And we're likely going to see, that push towards EVs now just heightened overall. So Trump's managed to cause in a situation here, which again, it's just played perfectly into China's hands. I think, the old saying, they're playing chess while he's playing checkers. Well, I think he's playing noughts and crosses with a set of crayons versus them playing chess. To be brutally honest, they're largely fine with Russian suppliers because they don't have as strong as sanctions. They're fine because they've still got their reserves. They're not exporting. It really is just affecting the countries that didn't think ahead, like Australia in particular. I think we're the third worst affected in the world. And despite all the major announcements from the government, it's probably going to see prices will continue to head higher. And, I think that will just absolutely decimate growth in Australia, because when you've got mortgages eating so much of your discretionary income, fuel prices going up 50%, eats the other half. So I can't see any of the retailers doing very well. I'd be getting out of retailers for sure. We don't have any here anyway at the moment, but despite the fact that some of them are looking very cheap, but they're really, you're going to have a situation soon where diesel is going to be so high that it's going to really affect Australian agriculture as well, and our food prices are going to go through the roof. So we all saw what COVID did to the general populace when we thought we were going to have toilet paper shortages. Expect there to be some pretty severe social media videos go viral over the course of the coming weeks, because this is going to get a lot worse before it gets better. For all these updates, and we are keeping pretty strong updates across the board here, portfolio management, etc. as well, and offering our new portfolio review app which is MPC Mosaic Prism. You'll need Mosaic to get that, so you can get Mosaic free. You can get all the content, and then the only thing you need to pay for is the recommendations, and you can get one portfolio review free. So for those of you who are a little bit worried about their portfolios, it's usually about a 24-hour turnaround. You can submit that to us, and we'll get back to you as soon as possible and help you out, in these uncertain times. But but overall, we were expecting the SPI to drop around about 1%, I would imagine, on the open or thereabouts. And as I said, we've got indicative oil prices basically around that 102 to 103 mark, and I would imagine as Asia opens, it probably start to grind higher overall. But it's really a case of you want a high cash balance, some gold and silver, I would imagine, and some oil as a general hedge, because things are getting pretty cheap. But when you have a look at how bad the technicals look in the US, the length of what this is likely to continue to go on, and the knock-on effects across the broader global economy, particularly in Europe and Asia, it's not going to be very pretty for a long time. So stay safe out there and get out of things you don't really want, and then stay up to date with Mosaic. Just scan that QR code there, and you can get all of your research, podcast, education, and stock recommendations all in one place. But have a great day, people, and we will speak again tomorrow.